Hello, everybody. How are you all today? I hope everybody's enjoying the holidays and that you can hear me fine today. I'd like to welcome you to Becoming a Firm of the Future with me, Michelle Long. And this time we're talking about becoming a trusted advisor. So I'm very glad to have you all joining us today. I am from wonderful Colorado. I am in Keystone, Colorado right now, enjoying the white Christmas that we had here and getting ready for a new year. Hope you guys have had a good one as well. I do have a bit of a cold today, so I apologize for that. For those of you that don't know me, I am Michelle Long, CPA in Kansas City, Missouri. I've had my own practice for, about 24 years now. And for the last several years, I've been an international speaker for Intuit, going around helping accountants and bookkeepers learn about QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online literally around the world. So I'm really glad to have you guys joining us for this today. I'm also the author of several different books, 5 different books actually, if you want to check those out on Amazon. One of them that you might be interested in is the QBO Practice Set to help you practice learning more about QuickBooks. Enough about me, though. Let's go ahead and talk about this Firm of the Future webinar series. We've already done part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we talked about getting on the cloud and where to start. We talked about the basics of QuickBooks Online, the different versions, how to convert, and how to know when it's the right time to convert a client to QuickBooks Online and all that stuff. And then in part 2, we talked about once you're in QuickBooks Online, how do you streamline the workflows and ways to automate things and make things a lot faster and more efficient for you and your client. And both of those have been recorded. If you go to firmofthefuture.com, scroll down towards the bottom, and you'll see the links where you can listen to those. So again, that's firmofthefuture.com, firmofthefuture.com, and you can listen to those recordings. Today we're talking about becoming a trusted advisor and how do we add value for our clients, as well as how to move to value pricing. It's going to be a great one today. We do have an hour and a half scheduled for this webinar today, and we will probably go the full hour and a half. I've got a lot of content. I don't think I'm going to get through all of it in the first hour, but I will pause and take time for some of your questions as we go along. Then part 4, which is coming up after the new year on January 15th, we're going to talk about getting connected and tips and tools for managing social media, helping you learn more about how you can get referrals, make connections to grow your practice. And also connecting with, your peers and other people as well as clients. So that's going to be a great one. I hope you'll join me for that. If you haven't registered for it yet, please do register for that one as well. The training today is eligible for up to 1 hour of CPE. Each one of these live webinars that you attend would be live, not when you listen to the recording, but each one of the live webinars is eligible for up to an hour of CPE. The CPE keyword will be provided during the webinar. I usually say it 4 or 5 times, and it will be up on the screen for a minute. I'll probably try to take some questions during that time, but you have to write that down. And then towards the end of the webinar, so after the first hour sometime, towards the end of the webinar, we will give the poll question, and you need to answer that poll question to be eligible for the CPE. Then you'll get your certificate emailed to you within 3 weeks, to the same email address that you used to register for this webinar, and then you need to keep that copy for your records. Now, today we're going to go through a lot, but there's additional resources that are available for you out there that I want to make sure that you know about. If you go to QuickBooks.com, and you'll see the accountant tabs. You see that there in yellow, highlighted in yellow, and then down on Accountants Learn and Support. This is where you can find additional resources like the Moving Online guides that they have available, as well as Accountants University. You can see there's a link in there also to Firm of the Future under Accountants University. So great resources out there. I encourage you to check some of those out for additional resources. So what we're talking about, I apologize, what we're going to be talking about today is strengthening your role as a trusted advisor. We're moving away from bookkeepers and accountants, and we're really moving towards trusted advisors. So what can we do to help make sure that we strengthen our role as a trusted advisor? Then we're going to talk a lot about implementing value pricing. And we're going to give you some examples and some ideas and lots of things to think about today. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to price or what to price, but I'm going to give you lots of ideas on how you can move away from hourly billing to value pricing. So first of all, let's talk about how we are moving from data entry to data management. The accounting profession has changed tremendously. I mean, it's changed over the years a lot. I mean, if you remember back when, QuickBooks first came out, or we also had like One Right, and we had DAC Easy and Peachtree, and all these old accounting systems. When they first came out, a lot of us were worried that the clients weren't going to need us anymore. They had a computer, they had an accounting program, they could do it themselves, right? Well, all that did, when they started using QuickBooks, it changed what they need from us. They needed now our services to help them with QuickBooks consulting and training, because they were trying to do it on themselves. But what happened? They'd mess it up, right? So when the accounting programs came out, it didn't change the client's need for us, but it changed services that we provide and how we work with our clients. That's what's happening now, that everybody is moving to the cloud and that we're downloading transactions and using bank fees and bank rules and all that stuff. Again, our services are changing. If you built your practice doing data entry and entering stuff from the register, you're quickly being outdated, very quickly. People just aren't doing that anymore because everything is automated. And the nice thing is, when we're doing data entry, a lot of times the clients look at us as just the bookkeeper. I was frustrated. I had a client, and I was their accountant doing their monthly bookkeeping and payroll and everything, and I would try to talk to them about their numbers and things, and they wouldn't listen to me because I was just the accountant. And your clients might do it too. Why should I pay you $75 or $85 an hour? You're just doing data entry. Anybody could do that. I'll go hire a college kid, right? So the good thing is we've moved away from data entry. Now we're streamlining and automating the workflow, and we talked a lot about this in the last webinar that we did, so you can watch number 2 if you want to. We talked about how downloading transactions in the bank rules, the recurring transactions, the document receipt management, third-party apps, all of these things are streamlining our workflow and saving us hours every month. Instead of something taking us 20 or 30 hours, now it can take us 4 or 5 hours. I mean, it's really changing how we're working with our clients. This is leading us to more data management, and this data management is making us more of a, I am so sorry, is making us much more of a trusted advisor. Oh boy, I'm sorry. I hope I get through this whole thing. But we really are doing more data management and now more of a trusted advisor. So how can we really enhance and become more of this trusted advisor? There's several different things we can do. And first of all, we want to specialize. It is too hard anymore to know everything. There's just too many rules and regulations and too many industry things. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to try to be a generalist anymore. It's really helpful when you specialize. You might want to specialize by industry, maybe construction or e-commerce or nonprofit. I know a CPA in California, I apologize, a CPA in California who does nothing but nonprofit organizations. There's another accountant up in Canada that does nothing but medical practices. He works with doctors. So you choose your specialty. You could start to specialize in certain industries, or maybe you want to specialize in the services that you offer. I decided I didn't want to do taxes at all. So I initially started by doing bookkeeping and payroll. But over the years, I changed that as well, and then I got to where I only did QuickBooks consulting and training. And I remember back then, somebody said to me, you can't build your whole practice on QuickBooks. You won't have enough work. Well, I proved them wrong because millions of people use QuickBooks, and millions of people need help. So you can specialize by the service and then exchange referrals with other accounting professionals for the services that you don't provide. Then also, you might choose to specialize in some of the third-party apps that are available. A lot of them now have partner and affiliate programs. They offer training and support, and some of them, like Method and T-Sheet, they even offer certification. So find something that you're interested in, where you already have a lot of clients in that area, and specialize, because that allows you really to become an expert in that area. It also allows you to charge higher fees and higher rates, and we're going to talk about the value pricing later, but it helps too to enhance that role as you're the expert and the trusted advisor in this particular area. So that's one of the first things to think about. Then also, if you haven't already, you want to join the ProAdvisor Program. I hope a lot of you already are, but the ProAdvisor Program has a free version, so all members get free access to QuickBooks Online Accountants. You get discounted software and services. You get the QuickBooks Online training and certification. I'll talk more about the different versions of the ProAdvisor program in just a minute, because I know there were lots of questions about this on the last webinar that we had. You also get special pricing on third-party apps. Some of them give you free subscriptions, like T-Sheets will give you a free subscription that you can use on your own, Receipt Bank, so you can learn more about those. I'm sorry. You also get a subscription to the ProAdvisor newsletter, and one of my favorites is the phone and the support for QuickBooks Online. The U.S.-based support is just great. So there are, those of you that don't know or maybe forgot about this, there are 3 different ProAdvisor options now. There's the free option that I was just saying, everybody gets those benefits for QuickBooks Online. You get the online training, certification, and support. All of the online stuff is for free. However, then there's the option if you still want to use desktop, because a lot of people still have desktop clients. They may still want QuickBooks Accountant Desktop and to get certified in the desktop. In that case, you would want the deluxe membership, which is $349 a year. And then if you want also the Enterprise and QuickBooks for Mac and Point of Sale, then you're going to want the premium version. So you need to choose which one's right for you. But there's no reason you shouldn't at least join the free ProAdvisor program. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. When you first join, you'll be at the silver level. That means you're not certified or you have less than 5 online clients. Some people don't want to get certified, but I'm not sure why. I encourage everybody to get certified, and then you become a gold member. And as a gold member, you get listed on that Find a ProAdvisor directory, and then also you get access to the advanced training materials. Even if you're not ready for the advanced test, you can at least access those materials. They're a great resource. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to drink some water to keep me talking so much. Then at the diamond level, this is when you get advanced certified. There is an advanced certification for QuickBooks Online in addition to the desktop version. But once you're advanced certified, you're at diamond level, you get the premium support, which is great because we don't have to wait in line and it's faster and things. Then also you get priority ranking on that Find a ProAdvisor directory. You'll be ranked higher in those search results. So I encourage you to get certified. It doesn't take that long. The QBO certification, most people can do it in a couple of hours. It's 5 modules and 15 questions per module. Once you get that certification, you will be listed on the Find a ProAdvisor website. We'll talk more about it next time and some things that you can do to help maximize your profile out there. But once you're certified, you're listed. And then again, I encourage you to get advanced certified. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's somewhere maybe around 5% of the ProAdvisors get certified. This is, again, ways that we can, I'm sorry, not 5% of the ProAdvisors that get certified, but 5% that get advanced certified. So first of all, when you join the ProAdvisor program and get certified, you're differentiating yourself from other accountants and bookkeepers who haven't done that. And there's no reason not to now because it's free. There's a free option. And then get certified. And then to further distinguish yourself as an expert, get advanced certified. It's easy and it does take some time, but really helps a lot in distinguishing yourself as an expert and a trusted advisor. And even when you get certified, you're also able to charge higher fees again. You're more valuable because you have more education and experience. So I encourage you to work on certified. And as a matter of fact, there's webinars, I think about every week, where you can take the free online certification prep training. You can do the self-study. There's recordings available in your ProAdvisor course locker, if you will. But there's recordings where you can listen to those, or you can do a live webinar. Or I'd invite you to join me in a couple of weeks from now, January 13th and 14th, is the Intuit VCon. And I encourage you to go to QuickBooksVCon.com. I will be doing 5 webinars, and hopefully I won't cough on you then. But I'll be doing 5 webinars for the certification training, the preparation training. So I encourage you. Those are all free. So I would encourage you to join and get certified. Again, it helps differentiate yourself, and then you can use those logos on your website and in your on your business cards and everything else. So now let's talk about other ways that as a trusted advisor we can add value for our clients. This is a great little chart to help you think about ways that you can help your clients. Now you know your clients want to be more profitable and grow sales and things like that, But look at some other things on there. Under you can help your clients increase visibility down there on the bottom. You can help them reduce complaints or risk or conflict or definitely the paperwork. You can help them improve their processes with third-party apps that will help them streamline their processes. There's lots of things that we can do for our clients to help add value to them. This chart just helps you think about a few different things there that you can go through and add value for your clients. So that's what we're going to be talking about now, because as we're moving away from data entry and we move to data management, we need to add more value for our clients. And this is a great opportunity because a lot of us, we can do data entry really fast. You know, you can go through the check register and type those checks in the register really fast. You know, we're really good at typing it in and stuff, but there's no real value in that. So we want to add some value for our clients in addition to just the basic bookkeeping and things like that. So think about some of these things here, and then I've got some specific examples here of things that you can add value for your clients with QuickBooks. You can do budgeting. I mean, it wouldn't take you any time at all, okay, less than 5 minutes, to create a budget based on current year actual. And then you give that to the client. You start giving them budget versus actual reports, and you can tell them, you know, hey, this is not as good as it could be because we just based it off of this year actual. We could actually schedule an hour if you wanted to sit down and go through and do some budgeting. But that's something you can do very easy for them, just creating it in QuickBooks in a matter of minutes. Cash flow forecasting, you can help them with that. Online invoicing and payments. I've had several clients that when they use QuickBooks payments and they see how cool it is and how easy it is to get paid by your clients, they want to implement that for themselves. And a lot of times it can save them money. I'm sorry. A lot of times it can save them some money too, because with the ACH transfers, when the client pays with their bank account information, it's only 50 cents per transaction as opposed to the credit card fee. So that's something to the automated recurring transactions, automated reports. We talked about some of those things, and I demoed how to do that in the second webinar. So I'm going to encourage you to go back and watch that webinar if you need more information on that, as well as creating custom reports for your clients. Management reports are now available in QuickBooks Online. And then also something else you might want to be doing is monitor the key ratios and trends for your clients. Let your clients know, hey, we're going to keep an eye on your gross profit margin, and if we see any problems, we'll let you know. Or we're going to keep an eye, your net profit margin. Let them know, when things are getting out of whack or if expenses are getting out of line. Or maybe small tools and equipment. Maybe that's been going up a lot lately. Maybe there's some theft going on. Help monitor things for the client in addition to just cranking out the books and having the monthly income done. So these are some ways in QuickBooks that's really easy that you can do for your clients. You might want to then get into more of the ratio analysis and monitoring things with some reporting apps or some dashboards. There's lots of them available now, which are really affordable and provide great information. A lot of times your clients don't want to just see the P&L or the balance sheet. They don't want to just see a bunch of reports. They want to see charts and graphs. They want to quickly see, red means something I should be paying attention to, or green is something that's going well. So there's lots of different things that you can find out there that you can use to help you monitor the client activity, or you may want to share them with the clients as well. Have them logging in and seeing some things. Again, this is taking us away from just the bookkeeper or just the accountant to that trusted advisor. Clients really do trust us, and we need to be helping advise them on how to run and manage their business and what to watch out for and things like that. A lot of times they're not the type of clients that are accountants, most of them, or they wouldn't be using it. So these are great things that you can do. But then there's other ways that you can add some value for your clients. Maybe you want to do a newsletter or email updates to the clients. The QEO blog comes out every single month with new updates in QuickBooks Online. Share that with the clients, forward it to them. Maybe you want to make a quick video or do a webinar of some of the updates or things that are going on. Maybe it's new tax law that you want to let them know about. There's lots of things, though, that you can do for sharing information that's valuable to the client. Maybe you're specializing in a certain industry. Let's say you're specializing in e-commerce and retail, and you want to let the clients know about the new law with the chip on the credit cards. Maybe you want to do that with them. So think about ways that you can help the client stay up to date in their industry as well as, with the tax laws and payroll changes or any of those things. Then also, some of your clients, like if you're in a firm, let's say you have 5 bookkeepers working in the firm, maybe the client wants one specific staff person all the time assigned to them. That's very valuable to them to have the same person doing it all the time. Maybe you want to give them a satisfaction guarantee. If they're not happy, you'll take care of it. You'll do something for them. Because think about it. If your client's unhappy anyway, you need to take care of it or they're going to go somewhere else. So you're already probably guaranteeing your work and guaranteeing that they're satisfied. Why not put it in writing for them? That's something that they value, and you can actually charge a premium for that, like a 10% premium. Maybe you want a guaranteed delivery time. If you give us your tax information by January 31st, we'll give you your taxes by February 15th. I don't know. But you might have a guaranteed delivery time. The converse of that, too, is if you need to also set up a policy with your clients that this is the due date when we have to have certain information. If you don't get it to us by the due date, you pay a $50 penalty for every week or day or whatever. But you need to establish deadlines for things with your clients on when you need things and then have consequences if they don't meet those deadlines. There's no reason their procrastination should cause us to have an emergency and work overtime and weekends and go crazy trying to meet the deadline if they give us things too late. So make sure, though, that you clearly specify, what the terms are there. Then also, a lot of accounting professionals globally now are really switching over to the value pricing. And what they're doing, they're just including QuickBooks Online in with their pricing. Because with wholesale billing, as accountants and bookkeepers, we can get wholesale billing where it's 50% off for the life of that subscription. So QBO Plus for us is like $15 a month. It's not very much. There's other apps. Maybe clients need Bill.com. Maybe they need T-Sheets. Maybe they need different things. You may consider bundling these things in with your prices, especially like with QBO Plus. For $15 a month, you're not sending files back and forth anymore. You don't have to worry about getting a backup or an accountant's copy, the client working in the wrong file. All of those inefficiencies are gone when you're working in QuickBooks Online, and not to mention the beauty of the downloaded transactions and bank rules and all the other things that you can do to automate processes. So a lot of accountants are just including QuickBooks Online in their fees. And we'll look at an example of how you could do that in just a minute. And also, you might consider, and we're going to talk about these two in depth in just a second, but separate a la carte option or bundle stuff in with your packaging when it comes to training and support. One of the things that I've noticed out there is if you go to anything online, like the Intuit community forums, the LinkedIn groups, Facebook, you go look anywhere, you'll see people posting questions. How do I do this? My accountant told me to do that. How do I do this? And so I see these people out there asking questions, and I'm like, well, why don't you ask your accountant? Because they'll charge me for it. And that's putting a wall up between us and our clients. We don't want them to do that. So we can build in some training and support options for our clients. For example, under training, you might have something where you have, okay, we will do the setup of QuickBooks and training for you all in one package. Or you may say, okay, setup is going to be X amount of dollars, and then we have this 4-hour training package as well. So you can kind of decide how you want to do that. I encourage you to put setup and training together in one package and one price. And then you can say, then for example, you might say, okay, we're going to give you the setup plus 4 hours of custom training first, and you can do these one each day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. You can figure out how you want to schedule these. Usually I would not suggest doing a 4-hour session all at once with the clients. That's going to be overload for them. So break it down. Maybe the first time you go over basic navigation and working with their list, with the customers and vendors and accounts and things. Then maybe on the second session you go over money in and how to do all the sales and the receivables and all those transactions and the related reports. Then on the next one, money out, how to enter those expenses and the purchases and payables and all that. And then reporting and others. So you could do these 4 training sessions. And when you do it, you can use a remote access tool like GoToMeeting, Join Me, TeamViewer, and record the session. Because then what you can do, you also log into your ProAdvisor website, And under training, there's a training for you and training for your clients. Go get those manuals from the training for your clients. And now you've got for your clients, you recorded the training session so they can watch it again in case they forget something, and you've customized it just for their business. You've got that recording and the handouts that you've got from the ProAdvisor website where you can give them this training materials. That's very valuable for your clients. They've got that training there for them. Think about that. So that's a great way to add value for your clients, and then also, again, provide them with those recordings and those handouts. I think both of those are going to be great. And somebody says, how safe are the remote access tools? They're all very, especially like GoToMeeting, Join Me. Those have been around for a long time. TeamViewer. Those are very safe when you're logging in remotely, and it allows you to see what the client is seeing, or they can see what you're doing, so you can do some training there. Somebody says, where can I get some QuickBooks slides for a presentation? Somebody wants them to talk about QuickBooks, and I'd like to get information on it. So if you're a ProAdvisor, which if you're not, I just told you about how you should join because it is free. So you should join a free ProAdvisor program, and then in there, again, go under the training for your clients, and you'll find some resources and materials in there. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. So provide training options for your clients. The other thing is support options. You really need to consider including some basic support in all your offerings. You do not want your clients going out online and saying, what should I do here or what should I do there? For one thing, let's say somebody like myself answers their question for them, and I say, gosh, you ask your accountant, you know, and they say, oh, I'm afraid to, or they don't explain it well, or they're going to charge me for it. You're not going to have client loyalty, and they may want to switch. They may say, gosh, you know, you were great, you were very helpful, would you be my new accountant? So, you know, that's something you don't want the client afraid to contact you for help. And so you really want to make sure that the door is open for that client to contact you. So I encourage you to consider including some basic support for all of your clients, okay? And it might be something like, if you've got a quick question, send us an email, we'll answer within 24 hours. That might be the free support that you include for all your clients. And your clients aren't going to abuse this option either. They will have more questions when they're first getting started, but that's to be expected. After the first month or two, they're going to have fewer and fewer questions for you. And it might be something like, you know, we bought a new vehicle, you know, how do I record this? Or I need your help to get a bank loan. And then you can negotiate, you know, how stuff. So you want them contacting you. So you want to provide them with some options when it comes to support. Do they just want the free quick email question, you know, within 24 hours, or are they willing to pay for more support? You know, I'm out here in Colorado. We do an annual ski trip every year. We've been doing it for years and years. And I remember one year I had trained a bookkeeper for this construction company. I had been training her for a couple of days, and then it was Friday, and I was like, okay, well, you know, if you need anything, you know, let me know, but I'll be out of town next week. I'm going on a ski trip. And they were like, oh, no, you know, the owner of the company says, you can't leave. You know, she's just been trained. What if she has questions for you? I said, well, I'm sorry. You know, it's spring break or Christmas, and we're going on this trip. And he said, well, you've got to be available in case she has questions. And so he says, you know, doctors are on call. Why can't you be on call? And I was like, well, what do you have in mind? And he says, if she has a question, you know, she'll send you a message or whatever. You call her right back. And I said, well, I'm going to be on the side of the mountain. He's like, okay, we'll call her back within an hour. Well, you know, it gets kind of cold and tiring when you're skiing, and I need a break, right? So I said, okay, well, how much do you think that would be worth to you? He said a really big number in addition to my normal hourly rates, because this was years ago when I was charging hourly. And it was like $1,000 to be on call plus my normal rate. I was like, okay, I can do that. I would have never thought to do that. But your clients sometimes, they want support and they're willing to pay for it. Think about it. People are willing to pay for support and the help that they need. So let's give them the option. What kind of support do you want? Do you want the basic free support, an email question within 24 hours? Or do you want to have different packages? Like you'll see there, I've got the example of bronze, silver, and gold. Maybe reply within 8 hours or 4 hours. Maybe you want to have calls, you know, included. Maybe the platinum level is, phone calls to you to help, with doing their stuff. So think about how you could offer support options for your client. They're willing to pay for support because they like to know you're there. It's just like when we pay for insurance. We like it because we know it's there when we need it. Your clients want to pay for support so they know it's there when they need it. Give them some options and let them choose. And that way, too, you're helping with the client loyalty. They're going to turn to you when they have questions. And hopefully, when they need additional services, they're turning to you as well instead of somebody else. So offer some support options for your clients as well. Okay, so don't forget that. Now, let's do the CPE keyword, and I'll answer a couple of other questions. So, baboon. Have you seen a baboon lately? If you've been to the zoo, you probably saw a baboon. So write down baboon. All right, write down baboon, and you'll get the CPE keyword a little bit later. I'm sorry, I took another drink, so I'll quit coughing, hopefully. Okay, somebody says, should some kind of an agreement to identify the responsibilities and liabilities? Yes, we're going to talk about an engagement letter coming up a little bit later, where you do want to clearly lay out the responsibilities and due dates and terms and all that stuff. So we will talk about engagement letters towards the very end. And then let's see, thank you, Woody, for flagging some of these questions for me and answering some of them on your own. I love it. Let's see, I don't see, I thought I saw another flagged one. You're doing great, thank you. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Support options. Would you recommend anything different for a one-person practice? No, I still would give them support options. And my policy has been, if it's a quick question, I don't want to worry about tracking and charging for that stuff anyway. I want my client to send me an email with quick questions, things like that. If it's not a quick question, I'll email them back and say, sorry, I'm going to need to log in to see this. We need to set up a remote session. So you may have 15-minute remote sessions with your clients to log in, fix things, talk about things, or whatever. But I think we should be providing support to our clients. We don't want them afraid to call us when they have questions. We don't want them making mistakes and messing it up where we got to clean it up either. We want to try to get them to where, they can do some things on their own by helping them to do what they need to do. Maybe they want to do the invoicing and the estimates on their own, and the checks and the reconciling. But we want to have that support where they contact us and that they see us as their trusted advisor. They don't go looking at somebody else. Okay? Somebody's asking a question about value pricing, and we're going to get to that in just a few more minutes. Right now we're kind of talking about the adding value and things like that. Somebody says, how do you offer support when you have clients that are both tax and bookkeeping clients, and how do you mark this as a bronze level to remind myself to call them within their scheduled time? So Susan, in QBOA and in desktop, but in QBOA, we've got a client dashboard. And in the client dashboard, you can put notes that would show up when you just hover on the little note right in front of the client name, so you could quickly see what level they are. So that's going to remind you there. And then also, as far as clients that are tax and bookkeeping, you could go ahead and say, tax update newsletter that you're going to send out to everybody is included or something. Then at the higher level, maybe some of them get a half an hour of one-on-one tax advice and planning, or maybe they get an hour. So you can go ahead and build those into your packages as well for tax support and bookkeeping support. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move along here. Baboon. You to write down baboon to get your CPE keyword at the end of the webinar. Baboon, baboon, baboon. There, I said it a whole bunch. And I see now we have Emily here who's helping us as well. Thank you, Emily, for helping with some of the questions. I really appreciate that. All right, let me get this slide going on to the next one. So let's talk about value pricing and what the differences are, and we're going to talk about how we can start moving over to value pricing and everything. Let me just check to see if Emily got made a staff so she can help answer questions. There she is. Thank you, Emily, for helping, and Woody, too. Okay, so how do we define value pricing? Everyone knows what hourly billing is, right? I worked 5 hours, I'm going to bill in 5 hours. So what's happening, though, is let's say you work 20 hours entering all the checks and the credit card expenses and reconciling the account and everything. But now you're converting to QuickBooks on, you're setting up rules and you're automating things. It only takes 3 hours a month instead of 2 hours a month. Do you want to make less money? Are you providing the same value to your clients? Are you providing the same service to them? They're getting their financial records taken care of or their payroll taken care of, right? You're doing the same thing, but you're faster and more efficient. Should you make less money because you've invested in learning about the new tools and the new technology and stuff? No. And furthermore, your clients don't really care how long things take you to do. When you go in and get your oil changed, do you care how long it takes them? You just see the price, right? And so this is where more and more accounting professionals are getting away from hourly billing, and we're value pricing. We're basing our fees not on the time, but on the value to the client. And we can't underestimate the value of the benefits that we provide. You know, I've had some people say, well, gosh, you know, that's pretty easy. I can't charge that much. It's easy for you. It's not easy for them. You know, if I tried to go do something in FileMaker Pro, let's say I want to edit an image or graphics or whatever, I don't know how to do that stuff, and it's going to take me a lot of time to learn it. I'm happy to pay somebody to do it for me. They're happy to pay us to do the accounting and bookkeeping, and we need to realize that and not underestimate the value that we're providing to these clients. And we've got to realize we are not selling our time. You're selling your knowledge, your experience, innovation, and customer service. Think about the first time you did a bank rec. Do you remember how long it took you? Or the first time you tried to fix undeposited funds? Remember? You're like, oh my gosh, how do I fix it? And those things took you a long time, right? When you first were new and getting started, they took a long time. But now you've got more experience, you've got more education, you've learned more, you've got more knowledge and skills, and it takes you no time at all. But it's very valuable what you've learned over your years. So we've got to focus on the value to the client and forget the time, because we're getting so much faster and more efficient now. Billing hourly is totally dying. A lot of people are getting away from that now, more so than ever before. So we've got to remember that. And there's several different benefits to value pricing as well. For our clients, they want to know what it costs up front, okay? So they like to know what it's going to cost, not, you know, can you do this for me? Sure. How much is it going to be? I don't know. It depends. You know, they don't like not knowing what the cost is going to be. I see somebody said the bank rec and QBO is so easy, I feel guilty. Exactly. That's one reason, though, I wanted to help you learn how to add value for your clients, like helping them do a budget real quick and easy, or adding some of those automated reports for them so that you're adding value for the client so you don't feel guilty. Because I know, Kathy, a lot of people say that they feel guilty. Our clients also, I don't know about you, but I remember when I used to bill hourly, I used to hate that my client was like, what are you working on? How are you spending your time? You know, what's your hourly rate? Oh my gosh, it's how high? You know, you don't want them worrying about what you're doing. Are you working on their stuff? What you're doing every minute and being accountable for it and things like that. You also, you know, you get pushback. Oh my gosh, you're 80 an hour? Outrageous. That's where they think, oh, you could go get some data entry person for $15, $20 an hour. So when you're value pricing, they're not. Plus, clients are going to feel better knowing that you understand their needs and their values. So a lot of times your clients will appreciate and will love the fact that they know it's going to be $500 every month or $1,000 every month. They will like knowing that the accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll is taken care of in their taxes and how much it's going to cost them. And then it's also beneficial for us because as we improve our efficiency, we learn how to use these new tools like the bank rules and automated features and stuff. We improve our efficiency. It allows us to improve our profitability as well. And it helps build that client loyalty. We talked about the fact that you don't want your clients afraid to contact you. This helps build up some of that client loyalty so that they aren't afraid to go elsewhere. So let's talk, how do we move to value pricing? So let's talk about some of these basic steps now. If I want to start moving away from hourly billing
Michelle, we can't hear you.
Hey everyone, we know that Michelle has lost the audio. We're going to give her a couple minutes to come on back. I just emailed her, so I'm sure she'll just log out and log back in. Thanks. Michelle, is that you? Oh, sweet, perfect. Yeah, I was just letting you know, letting everyone know you'd be back soon. So.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure what happened. So sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully you had just a little bit of a break there, not too long. All right, so let's talk about the 4 basic steps to move to value pricing. And this is where if you've got new clients, you might want to start the first couple of months to just kind of get a feel for their activity and things like that, and then move them to value pricing. But for existing clients especially, we've got to have kind of a path on how we're going to move them to value pricing. So the first thing we want to do is establish some packages, and we're going to talk about each one of these in just a moment here. We want to establish packages. We've got to determine our pricing, and then we also need to implement this in phases. You're not going to do all of your clients as of January 1, put them on value pricing. We're going to move a few clients at a time over there. So we'll talk about that as well as evaluate and revise. And we're also going to talk about the engagement letter. I know somebody kind of brought that up just a minute ago. So these are kind of the 4 steps. So let's talk first of all about, sorry, let me get this to go. There we go. Create some packages. And these are going to be tailored for each one of your clients. But you can kind of have some basic ideas because there's going to be some stuff that will apply to lots of clients. So your basic package, like the client might do some tasks. Maybe the client wants to do all of the sales and receivable side of things. Maybe they want to do all that. They want you to do all the bills. But the client is doing something. The middle package, that's the one that's going to be the most common services that you're providing, the one that you do most of the time. And that's the one that most clients will choose. Then you want to also have a premium package. This is like the white glove service. You're going to give them additional reports. This is where you might use those dashboards with some key indicators, things like that. They get priority service and response. Instead of an email reply, maybe they get a call back within 2 to 4 hours. So you want to create 3 different packages. The middle package is the one that's going to be the most commonly selected. And this is proven. There's lots of research on the magic of 3 choices. And think about it. Everybody has 3 choices, small, medium, and large, right? Everybody has 3 choices. As a matter of fact, this is true. There's lots of research on this. And in fact, Wendy's paid some consultants millions of dollars. They wanted to increase the sales of their doubles. And they paid these consultants millions of dollars. How do we increase the sales of our doubles? The answer was add a triple. And they said, well, we don't want to sell lots of triples. We want to increase the sales of doubles. Exactly. It will increase the sales of doubles when you have a 3rd choice. So you want to have 3 choices for your clients, keeping in mind the middle one is going to be the most commonly selected and the one that you have most often for most of your clients, okay? So you've got to have at least 3 choices for your clients. For example, in the silver level, maybe the client's doing almost everything. You're just doing the bank recs and email support, okay? So that might be just the basic level for those clients who are on a big budget and they want to do a lot of it themselves. Then you might have a gold level where you're doing the monthly bank recs and you're doing the accounts payable management. Maybe you're using bill.com to do the bills. Maybe it's a restaurant and they have lots of bills and things. You might also include email support with a little faster response time there. Then you can have a platinum level where you're doing the monthly bank recs. You're not only doing the accounts payable management, now you're also doing the receivable side and you're doing payroll. And maybe this one includes an hour of phone support. You might have payroll as an add-on option, an a la carte option. These, again, are going to be customized for your various clients. You can kind of have some standards, like, okay, here's kind of where I'm going to start, but then you have to customize it for your various clients. Some clients are going to need payroll, some don't. Some are going to need inventory, some don't. Some are more complex than others. So you're going to need to customize and tailor it for each one of your clients. Here's an example that somebody has out on their website where they have 3 different packages. You can see there they've got the accounting hub, which would be like QuickBooks Online, paperless workflow. You're getting receipts from them and doing document management. You don't have to send papers back and forth. You're reconciling and closing the accounts for a couple of them there. So you can see one account, 2 accounts, or 3 accounts. Well, that can vary, you know, and so you do need to take into consideration not just the number of accounts that your clients have, but the volume of the activity. You've got to take that into account as well. And that's where you'll see the banking activity. There's different levels of activity there. Chart of accounts, is it a standard one or custom? How often are you doing it, monthly or weekly? And then look here, we've got a controller call where they're going to spend some time on the phone with them, talking to them about how the business is going, things to look out for, and helping give them advice on managing their business. So that's one example. And here's some other examples. Now, these examples came from Ron Baker's book, which is a great resource. And also, if you go out to Intuit Academy, you'll see Ron Baker has done some webinars in the past, and he might have some more coming up soon. But Ron Baker wrote the book, Implementing Value Pricing. And these are some examples I took out of there. So I want to make sure to give credit to him and mention that book, a value resource. And the webinars at Intuit Academy, those are free, or I guess it's Accountants University now. But anyway, so for example, here's the silver level. And notice it says we're going to prepare your tax returns, your financials, statutory returns, which might be state tax returns and stuff. Plus, on this one, he's got unlimited phone discussions, advice, meetings, a free review of your business and private loans. Notice that thing in red down there, though. This is very, very important. When we're putting these packages together, we've got to clearly define in an engagement letter, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, clearly define what work is included and what's not included. Let's say the client wants to get a bank loan and they want you to help prepare the loan documents or something. Maybe they want you to help do some tax planning for them. You need to have like a change order for anything that's not covered in the basic package that you've specified. Maybe they're being audited by the IRS. You've got to have a change order. Here it's called a variation order. Just like construction, in construction they do that when you're building a house or doing remodeling and stuff. They'll have change orders for additional work. So you've got to make sure that you include that in there as well. Then here he's got the gold level. It typically includes all the services of the silver level, plus we may add some of these other things on. And again, this is going to depend on each client. So it says, assistance with, wills and succession planning and business planning, team advisory board, client advisory board. All of those won't apply to all of your clients. So those are just some examples, and you're customizing this for each individual client. Then at the platinum level is where they really go all out and have, that's again kind of the white glove treatment here. On the platinum level, this is where, again, they're saying what is excluded from this package. And that's where you might even say, excluded is representation in an audit. If you're doing their tax return, but you may say, audit representation is excluded. Or you may include that. You can charge a 10 to 15, 20% premium for audit representation, because think about it. What is it, like 1 or 2% get audited? So the odds are they're not going to be audited at all, but they may be willing to pay more for that, knowing that not only are you going to do the tax return, if they get audited, it's included in the fee. So that's something that you can add value and charge more for. So you're going to see in just a minute an example of some of this. So once you kind of get an idea of some packages that you might be putting together for your clients, you got to go through and determine what you're going to be charging them, right? How are you going to charge for this? So one of the things that I suggest you do when we're choosing which clients to start with a client that you've had for a long time that's pretty consistent. Look for some clients that you've been dealing with for, maybe a year or two, and you take a look at what their annual fees were. You might want to look at both, bookkeeping and taxes. Let's say, what were their annual fees over the last year? Some months might be a little more than other months might be a little less. What were their annual fees? take a look at the billing rate survey. It's out on my blog and the accountant's blog. There's some results of Intuit's average billing rate survey, and there's 3 specific examples on some fixed fee jobs or value pricing kind of jobs. Go look at some of those out there as well. Then also determine the base price for each level, and you've got to have some parameters. So for example, here's one that I took off of somebody's website. For bookkeeping, as you can see, it says monthly $300, quarterly $900. Well, first of all, I think I don't like that aspect because you don't encourage them to do monthly. If it's the same 3 months, the quarterly is the same as monthly, so they can just give you their stuff all at once. You may like that. You may not. You might want to charge more if you got to do 3 months at one time. You might want to charge $1,000 for that to encourage them to do monthly. So think about some of that, and also notice there's an asterisk there next to bookkeeping services. Pricing may vary depending on the complexity of the work or large volume of transactions. Some clients have one-line invoices or one-line checks and bills and expenses. Other clients, maybe they're buying and selling inventory and there's multiple lines. Maybe they're doing class tracking and location tracking. Things can be more complex. So you've got to allow for that parameter in there. You know, prices starting at, especially if you decide you want to list these on your website. Some people are listing their pricing and their packages on their websites now, so you can go search some of that, especially if you go to Australia or New Zealand, and if you do Google New Zealand or Google Australia, you can search those websites from those countries. They are way ahead of us on creating packages and value pricing clients. So let's go through an example here, and I'll answer some of these questions here in just a minute because I see Woody's flagged some for me. Woody and Emily, thank you guys. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say you've got a client that's been a stable client of yours. You've worked with them for a couple of years. Currently, their annual fees over the past 12 months was $12,000. Of course, I did an easy number, right? So let's say it was like $1,000 a month.
Yep, we know, guys. Looks like Michelle lost connection again, so let's give her, 30 seconds or a minute to come back in. And she'll work like last time. She'll just log out and log back in, dial back in. So I'm sure she's physically okay. It's just something with the connection. So I do appreciate you guys putting in some of your well wishes for her because of the cough, but I think it has nothing to do with the cough. It's purely a technical issue. So we'll give her a chance to dial back in. Thank you. Yeah, everybody can hear me okay. Let's give her just a little more time to reconnect. She's down back in.
I'm back. Boy, it's not my day, is it? I'll tell you, I don't know what the problem is. I apologize, everybody. I've been talking on the phone all week, and it's the first time I've been losing my calls like this. And then I tried my speakers and mic, and it didn't work either. So hopefully we won't have this again. I apologize, and glad I'm back because I want to continue this example. Okay, so we got our stable client. We're charging $1,000 a month for 10 hours. We're going to convert them to QuickBooks Online and use one third-party app. Maybe it's T-Sheets, Bill.com, who knows. But this is going to allow us to save half the time. So instead of 10 hours, we're going to save 5 hours a month. And usually it's much more than that. Usually you're going to save a lot more time, but let's say it's going to save us 50% of our time. So we're going to be getting the work done a lot faster now. And so we're also going to add some value for them. We're going to add a satisfaction guarantee. We're going to tell them, satisfaction guaranteed, we're going to get it done on time, or blah, blah, blah. And if you're unhappy, that month is free. So you're going to give them some kind of satisfaction guarantee. And you, client who is still using QuickBooks 2002 from the desktop and don't want to upgrade, guess what? We're going to include QuickBooks for you. And it's going to be updated every month, and you won't have to worry about updating it or backing up. It's all taken care of. And so you're going to include QuickBooks Online Plus, and you might include one third-party app for them as well. So the value to the client is the $1,000 that they were paying before, because you're still doing the same thing. You're still providing the monthly financials, reconciling, doing the payroll, whatever it is. You're still doing the same thing. So the basic added value, you can add more things into that as well. So you're already providing $1,130, about $1,130 of value to your client, and then you can add more value in there. Plus, we're going to give you these automated reports where every week you're going to get a collections report and sales report automatically emailed to you where you can look at it quickly and stay on top of those things. Maybe you're going to do a budget for them. Maybe you're going to do some additional support or training. So this is where, I think Kathy said it earlier, I feel guilty because this stuff is so fast now. I get it done so easy. I feel guilty charging them the same amount. Add some value for them that takes very little time on your part, but is very valuable to them. Getting that collections report emailed to them every week automatically might be very valuable to the client so they can stay on top of overdue invoices. It takes you less than 5 minutes to set it up. Then it happens automatically all the time. So there's ways that we can add these value in here for the client. So that's just one example there. Somebody says, most of my clients are in the range of $60,000 to $100,000 still investing per year. Very difficult to charge them $1,000 a month because they don't see the value. Michael, this was just an example for this a pretend client. You may not be doing $1,000 a month. You may be doing $500. Maybe it's $300. That's going to vary depending on your client, the volume of work, and what you're doing for them. So you're right. This example isn't going to apply to all clients. It's just to show you, though, how you can add value into the client. So once we streamline and automate that workflow, we don't want to keep charging hourly anymore. Because if I did, I'd cut my income in half or more because I'm saving so much time. That's why we need to kind of get over towards the value pricing here. And somebody says, what is the best place to find differences between different online packages plus? I'm not even sure what that means. So Marge, on the QuickBooks Online, there's 3 different versions, Simple Start, Essentials, and Plus. I talked about those in the very first Firm of the Future webinar. So if you go back and listen to that recording, I go over some of that for you there. So hopefully that will help. So hopefully, though, this example helps you a little bit. What I'm going to do here, because it looks like we are getting, we've got plenty of time. So I'm going to look back at some of these questions that we had. Somebody says, I do more QuickBooks training and process improvements and monthly bookkeeping service. Would value pricing work for training and process improvements as well? Absolutely. I always do my training based on fixed fees. So like I said earlier, you might do a 4-hour training package. And what that I do as well is I will tell them, okay, after we go through a session and you have some questions, write them down, because as they start using it, they're going to have questions. So my training package includes not only the initial training, but it also includes some follow-up question time. So build that in and just improvement. That's a great opportunity for value pricing. Let's say you've identified that somebody's manually writing invoices out in the field and manually writing down the credit card number, or they call it into the office. You tell them, you know what, we're going to streamline this process. We're going to automate it for you so that you can receive credit cards in the field, and it's going to cost X amount. So, yes, you can go through and do those things as a value price service as well, because they don't know how long it takes. They don't care. They want to see the results. So absolutely you can do that. How do you utilize KPIs and other reports from apps like Fathom when they're not available for the client in QBOA, unless I'm just mistaken? So Tim, with Fathom and some of those other reporting apps like Cinnagraph and some of the other ones, there's quite a few of them. But with those, a lot of times you can make the client a user so that you can share those reports with them. Or you could save the reports as PDFs and email them to the client as well. So that's something that you can take a look at. And a lot of clients really like that as well. How can we know what's a competitive fee to charge for support packages? Should we charge a fee less than Intuit support? So, Linda, that's a good question. What's a competitive fee for support packages? What you need to think about is they're going to use the support package a lot more initially than they do later. So initially, you're going to be doing a lot more. As they get more self-sufficient and more knowledgeable about using QuickBooks, the support calls will be less and less. So you might take that into consideration. You might even want to for the first 3 months, and maybe you're charging $100 a month for 2 calls or 2 remote sessions, and you got an add-on fee from there. You've got to kind of sit down and work it out and see what makes sense. As far as what Intuit charges, I think you could look at that. I would tend to charge more because you know their business better, and I just think we can provide better support than it does, so we can charge more. We're closer to the client. We know their business better, and a lot of times we know, actually what they're doing, a lot better. So that would be my thought there. Somebody says, I have a new client, an hourly rate, definitely see something I need to go with them. How do I get them to switch and provide the outsourced controller service with training, help with changes, the problems they are having? I don't do taxes. So one of the things that I suggest that you do is we've got to talk to our clients and listen to our clients. If you get them to talk about things that they're worried about, things that they're concerned about, things that they would like to do better, more efficiently, things that would change, pain points that they're having, then you can see all these opportunities. And then you can tell them how this is what we can do to address those problems that you're having. So we've got to listen to them, and then a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. So you've got to listen to them, and they'll kind of talk you through it. And a lot of times they see the benefit of it as well. Okay, so do you ever do an annual contract so that you can recover the time invested initially as they need you less? Yes, that's a good idea. When you do this, I encourage you to come up with an agreement for a specific period. We're going to do your books for a 12-month period or for a year, for this calendar year or whatever. You definitely need to do that. But you also need to make sure that you reevaluate things periodically because things change. Sometimes the business will grow. Sometimes the business will decline. So you've got to allow for those changes as well. So your price may need to go up or down depending on the changes in the client's business too. So you may not want to do a whole year. You may want to do 3 months or 6 months and review every quarter, or review it every 6 months or something. But at minimum, yet you'd want to review it every year. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, so let me go ahead and cover some more of the content here, and then I'll get to some more questions because I did allow time for questions like I always do, and I knew there would be a lot today. So let's talk about the engagement letter, and then we'll go back to questions. So go ahead and turn your questions or put your questions in there, and I'll answer them as I can, and thank you to Woody and Emily for helping as well. So about this engagement letter, it's also known as a fixed price agreement. In Ron Baker's book, he calls it a fixed price agreement. This is where we need to make sure that we use an engagement letter. It's going to help us to clearly define those services and support that's included in the monthly fee. This is our tool to clearly communicate with the client. We will do X, Y, and Z. You will provide this, that, and the other by this specific date. If we don't receive it by that date, the penalty is, $50 per week or something. I mean, charge them if they're not getting you things on time. So we've got to clearly define what's included and we're doing, what the client is doing, the dates, the due dates, and things like that. Then identify possible add-on services. Maybe you want to say this is, we will create a budget based on current year actual. If you want additional budgeting, then that would be an add-on service. This does not include payroll. That's an add-on service. It doesn't include taxes, or it does include your tax return. what's included, what's not included. Does it include audit representation? Does it not include that? If you're putting audit representation in there, you can charge a 10% to 20% premium on that. So in other words, if you're charging them $1,000 and you tell them that you're going to represent them in the event of an audit, now you can charge a 10 or 12%, a 10 to 20% premium, another $100 to $200. They're willing to pay to know that you'll be there for them in the event of an audit. You might have the support, basic support included, but if they want additional support, if they want remote access, maybe you do 4 remote access calls that are included per month, and additional are this much. You've got to specify everything out. Include details about payments, and there's no reason we should be having accounts receivable on our books. We should be getting paid at the time of service. That's what everybody else does. Because think about it, you go to the dentist, you go get your oil changed, you go do anything, you pay for it at the time of service. So what a lot of accounting professionals are doing, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great. Michelle, you still there?
I'm back.
Awesome.
I'm here. I don't know what is going on. I'm back.
Also, Michelle,
okay.
can we put up the CPE word just now? Might as well, and then maybe you can answer some questions, and then that way they'll be able to do the poll at the bottom of the hour.
Sure. I already did the CPE keyword.
Oh, you did. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I can go ahead and launch the poll question now. I'll go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay, so the CPE poll question has been launched. Go ahead and answer that now. Thank you, Woody. Excuse me. I see somebody that said something about engagement letters and a link that used to be on my website. If you go to the ProAdvisor website under resources, there's a link in there for 6 sample engagement letters. Also, Hector and I did a QB Power Hour on engagement letters not too long ago. If you go to qbpowerhour.com and look in the archives, we've got a webinar where we talked for a whole hour about engagement letters. And so there's several different resources for that. Okay, so we should have that poll question up right now. You guys should be seeing the poll question. Please answer that with the CPE keyword if you need CPE credit. And let's see, where do you suggest we check with insurance provider? Okay, so yeah, so I'll finish that slide in a second there. Let's finish the poll question here. And those of you that need CPE question, if you can answer that CPE poll word, I'll give you about another 10 to 15 seconds here. How can I get my first client? You know what? That's a great question. How do you get your first client or your second client or any client? How do you keep getting clients? If you join me for the next webinar, the Firm of the Future number 4, we're going to be talking about social media and networking and getting referrals and things like that. I'd love to have you join me for that webinar, and we'll talk more about clients. And that one's on January 15th. You need to register for it too. It's separate from the one today. So those of you that need to answer the poll question, you got another for CPE credit. Last call on the poll question. All right. I'm going to close that. Thank you, guys. And you should be seeing my screen again. So, including the details about the payments, I was talking about the fact that we shouldn't be invoicing and waiting to get paid later. What a lot of accounting professionals are doing now with QuickBooks payments, you have the client sign something authorizing you to charge their credit card every month, and then you set up a recurring sales receipt, and it will automatically charge their credit card, maybe on the 10th day of the month or something like that. so that you don't have to worry about invoicing and collecting later. Also, if you're ever doing cleanup work for a client, or maybe they come to you and they need you to do the whole year of work, and you tell them, okay, I can do that, it's going to be $3,000 or something, never, ever, ever, ever start working without a deposit or a retainer or some kind of prepayment up front. If they won't pay you now, what makes you think they're going to pay you later? I encourage you maybe bill a third at the beginning of the job, a third half the way through, and then a third upon completion. Do not do a whole bunch of cleanup work and then try to invoice them a large amount, and then sometimes you have a hard time getting it collected. So set up those automated payments. That helps a lot. Make sure you include a provision to reevaluate things on a regular basis. Because remember, the client's business may be growing, so the volume of activity may be going up. On the other hand, things have been hard for some businesses. Maybe, they're going to close the location, so the activity is going to go down. You need to reevaluate things on a regular basis, and how often is going to depend on your client. Some clients annually might be fine. Other clients may be more volatile, and you'll need to review those maybe quarterly or twice a year, so kind of think about those. Then, yes, you should check with your insurance provider for engagement letter templates. You should have E&O, errors and omissions insurance, to cover, so for professional liability insurance, errors and omissions insurance, a lot of times your insurance provider will have a template that they require you to use, so you might check with them. You also, if you're a CPA, check with the AICPA. If you're a bookkeeper, check with the AIPB or the Canadian bookkeepers. I can't remember what it is now off the top of my head, but check with bookkeeping associations, accounting associations. Check with some of those as well for a template that you could use for that engagement letter. But it's very important that you have that engagement letter, again, to clearly identify exactly what's going to be done, when it's done, and the responsibilities for you and for your client, and then also the consequences when they don't do things on time, okay? So hopefully that helps a little bit there. Now, what we want to do, and let me go ahead and look at some more of the questions that we have here. I'll see somebody's talking about using apps. Okay, somebody's asking about using apps and stuff like that. Does the ProAdvisor program offer website assistance? No, it doesn't, but there's lots of people who do websites for accounting professionals. One of them is Sandy Smith-Leva, and there's some others as well, and so you can check some of those out there. Okay, let's talk about how do we kind of get started. Look for 3 initial clients that you want to convert. Just start with 3. You don't want to start with a huge number, because value pricing is kind of an art, not a science. It's going to take some time and some testing the waters and such. So you want to try to get some of your clients that you do regular services for them, a good candidate for QuickBooks Online, because that's where we're getting so much improved efficiency and automation and everything, much more so than working with desktop clients. And I can tell you, I started using QuickBooks Desktop long time ago, like I think in mid to late 90s. I started teaching QuickBooks Desktop in 1999. I've written books on desktop, and I don't take any new desktop clients anymore. And honestly, now when I work in desktop, it seems so clunky and dated to me. QuickBooks Online just saves so much time, and there's so much that you can do automating things with the bank feeds and the downloaded transactions. So you want to try to find somebody that's a good candidate for QuickBooks Online. Maybe you start with a small service-based business, somebody that doesn't have complex transactions. You don't want somebody that's got a lot of inventory and items that are on every transaction and stuff, so that it's a little bit easier to do the value pricing and to gauge the time and the work that's going to be involved. You also want a client that keeps business and personal separate. We all know there's some of those that we try to teach them that. There's some that just never will get it right, and sometimes I call them former clients because after you've been in business a while, you learn that sometimes you don't need every client. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, it's very helpful to have a good relationship with the client, because that's going to make it a little easier for you to say, hey, client, we've worked together a long time, and I really think this is going to be good for you, and this is going to be good for me, and this is what we're going to do, and I'd love your feedback and your comments as we go through this process. And again, use a phased approach. You don't want to do a whole bunch of clients all at one time. Just start with 2 or 3 clients, see how that goes for 3 months or 6 months, and then you can do another batch, maybe 10 clients the next time. But convert the clients in phases, and that's going to be helpful for you and helpful for your clients as well. Okay? Now, there's lots of additional resources out there, and I am going to spend answering some of your questions. But firmofthefuture.com is where you can register for webinar number 4, which is going to talk about, social media and getting connected and helping you to get clients and things like that and referral sources. Then also webinars 1 and 2, there's links that you can watch those out there. Then also I'd encourage you to join my Successful QuickBooks Consultants LinkedIn group if you haven't already. You can post questions out there, and it's a great resource, as well as the Facebook group for QB Power Hour if you're more of a Facebook person instead of LinkedIn. Intuit's Accountants University has lots of free webinars for you. That's where you can find some of the certification prep webinars. Lawn for Success is my website. Go search for Intuit Average Billing Rate Survey. And then again, the Ultimate Accounting VCon, I had mentioned it earlier. Sandy Smith-Leva and I have that coming up again in May. It's a great online virtual conference where we talk about lots of things that are going to help you to grow your practice. So lots of resources. Here's the other webinars that we had, the Firm of the Future ones. Again, you can watch the first 2. They were recorded. And then number 4 is coming up on January 15th. Please register for that. You need to register separately from this webinar. So I'd encourage you to do that as well. Okay, let's do some more questions here. There's a company that has a charity and wants to add inventory to sell. Okay, this is a little more specific there and not about value.
Yeah, I'll do that, Michelle. Thanks.
Yeah, Woody? Woody,
I'll just type in a response there if you want to continue on to some other questions.
Okay. All right. Try to look for some value pricing. Somebody was saying, why do I suggest a check with insurance provider for templates running the engagement letter? Sometimes they have some that they want you to use. They may not, but it doesn't hurt to check, because the engagement is a legal document. It is a contract between you and your client. So you need to kind of treat them with caution and be careful, and check with your insurance provider to see if they do have a template that they want you to use. And if not, you can always go look at the your ProAdvisor website. So if you log in, you're going to be able to go to resources, and there was a link for in there as well. Somebody said, is there some type of checklist available to go over with clients to determine their needs, which would help to avoid unexpected needs not considered? That's a great question, Mary Jane, and I'm trying to remember. I think, I can't remember for sure, but I think in my book, How to Start a Home-Based Bookkeeping Business, that's less than $5 if you buy the Kindle version. I think there's a checklist in there. But what you want to do is talk to your clients about all facets of their operation. Talk to them about their sales and receivables and how they operate there. Talk to them about the payables and how do they record their expenses and their purchases and things like that. Inventory, if they've got inventory. Other operations, how do they do things, and get to know their business. Talk to them about every phase of how they're doing things. That also helps you to identify inefficiencies where you can help. I call it appify the processes, where you can say, gosh, what you're doing over here is really inefficient. If we use XYZ app, that would streamline your process, avoid the double data entry, and save you lots of time. Would you like to talk more about that? And that's where you can find additional opportunities for additional services as well to help the client there. If you Google it too, you might find a checklist as well. And actually, now that I think about it, Mary Jane, if you go to YouTube and Sell Long CPA, last year, it was in May, I believe, 2014, I did a webinar called Appify the Processes. And initially was talking about doing a needs assessment with your client. We covered lots of stuff in that one as well. So that might be a good resource for you to take a look at. Again, that was YouTube. And you go to Michelle Long CPA, and you can find that, as well as other videos that are out there as well. So good question there. Very good. All right, let me see other. I hope this has been helpful, guys. I hope I gave you lots to think about. I didn't give you specific pricing or anything because obviously I can't because I don't know your clients, but I hope I gave you lots of things to think about and start considering it. Now you've got work to do to sit down and work on what your packages might be and work on which clients that you might want to use and things like that. Somebody says, are you recommending an E&O policy in addition to a general liability policy? Tina, I am not an insurance person. Like, I'm not an insurance expert. I do encourage you, because I don't know what your general liability policy covers, but errors and omissions is for professionals. Let's say you mess up and you don't do their payroll, or, I don't know, but mistakes that we make, errors and omissions is if you get sued for malpractice, basically, it's going to cover you. So you need to talk to your insurance provider about what type of insurance you need. Also, if you drive your car for business, you might need special insurance on that. If you got your business in your home, you might need some special insurance to cover your equipment. So talk to your insurance provider about what you need. Okay. Somebody says, when I come to Miami, somebody's going to give me a box of cigars for that cost. Ew, yuck. My husband would like the cigars, but not me. But I will be in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Miami in about a week or so, January 5th, 6th, and 7th, something like that. So if you're in any of those areas, I would love to have you join us for the live QBO certification preparation training and get certified. Okay. Somebody says, as always, you've given me lots to think about. I've been struck with a couple of key clients, and now I think I can move forward. Awesome, Michelle. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, you've got to start, and you've got to just start slowly. And this is where, too, when you guys have questions, you're not alone. Use the LinkedIn group. Use the Facebook group. Post some things out there. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about that. What do you think of this? And it's great where people can share their ideas and things with one another about what's worked and what hasn't. Somebody says, where can we sign up for the QBO newsletter? QBOblog.com. QBOblog.com. Okay, so QBOblog.com. And Helene says, most insurance providers give a discount if engagement letters are used. Good tip. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good tip to use as well. Somebody says, thank you, Michelle. Get some rest and Happy New Year. Thank you, Marina. I've been trying to rest. Unfortunately, I have been sick for about 10 days now, and I thought I would do better, and so I apologize for that. Okay. Somebody says, what if you already have a client on QBO, you have them on wholesale, you want to sell a service, not hourly labor? Yes, you're right. We're selling our services, not we want to focus on the value that we provide and the results, not the time that it takes us to do things. We want to focus on the results and the value that we're providing for our clients. So that was a good one too. All right, other questions that people have in there. Somebody says, what if you've already converted clients to QBO but want to convert to value pricing? That's okay. You still can do that. You still can convert them to value pricing. And, you just got to sit down and have that discussion with them that this is, I like to add additional value for them, whether it's some reports or whatever, as you're changing their pricing. But you just got to sit down and talk to them about converting them. And most of the clients are very happy to have a set fee where they know what it's going to be. Somebody wants to know, where can I get some training and guidance on doing 1099s on QBO? Sally, I would suggest that you log into the test drive company. If you just Google QuickBooks Test Drive, you'll find the link to the sample company. And in there, you can go into the vendor center, enter a sample vendor, enter some sample transactions, and do the 1099s, and you'll kind of see how that works. So you can get some practice doing it that way. Okay, so somebody said that I want to get certified. I took the prep course, but wasn't sure where to go after that. You need to take the exam, Wanda. So after you've done the certification prep course, you need to take that exam. If the exam doesn't come up when you click the link, make sure you allow pop-ups, because that's probably it. So somebody wants to know how to save the chat log. So what you do is you click on File, before you close out of here, you click on File, Save Questions Log, and that will save that for you. And we'll have Wendy wait a little while before she ends the webinar so that you can do that. So somebody says, thanks for the info, now hit the slopes. No, I think I'm taking it easy. I'm too sick still. I cough too much when I get into it. So very good. Okay, any other questions that I need to answer on here? Where do we sign up for the ProAdvisor free version? If you just go to QuickBooks.com and under Account, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, perfect. That's
oh,
good.
my gosh. Verizon must be like saying I'm over my limit or something. I was going to say, I hope you guys will join me for the Intuit Accounting VCon, the QuickBooks VCon. It's 13th and 14th, I believe. It's next week, and you can go to QuickBooksVCon.com to register for that. I will be doing the QBO certification training, the 5 different modules there. So that would be something to know. Now, somebody says, how long should I allow to prepare for the QBO advanced exam? That's a great question. The regular certification is all multiple choice, and you can go through and do that probably 2 to 4 hours, you know, depending on how familiar you are with QuickBooks already. The advanced certification, on the other hand, is going to take a lot more time. It's going to probably take minimum 4 to 6 hours per module, and there's 5 modules for it as well. So you need to allow a lot of time. Maybe you want to work on 1 module per week or something. It is harder, and it requires more time and commitment, but it's definitely worth it to do that advanced certification. There's a lot of benefits to that, but it is challenging. So it is worthwhile, but challenging. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, so let's see. Somebody says something about the January 15th. Go to QuickBooksVCon.com. QuickBooksVCon.com. All righty. Hopefully that will help. And this module has, the module has no name in my certificates. How do I get my name added? Are you talking about after you get certified as a ProAdvisor? Talk to ProAdvisor support. I think you may want to check with them on that. Next week, you're training certification 5 modules. Yes, QuickBooksVCon.com. QuickBooksVCon.com. I will be doing the QBO certification. It's over 2 days, 2-day period, or over 2 days. I'll be doing 5 different ones on the 5 modules for the preparation. Okay, so somebody said, can you send an email about the live training sessions in Florida next week? Time's running out. Yes, Ken, I think they have been sending some of those out. Hopefully you have registered. You can go to QuickBooks.com and then under the Accountants menu, Learn and Support, and that's where you can find the link to register. If you can't find it, send me an email and I'll send you the link to register. And then the CPE for the VCon, yes, there is CPE available for the VCon, and it is free as well. Okay? Let me just go ahead and put this in there for you. QuickBooks. Oops, I can't spell QuickBooksVCon.com. Let me go ahead and send that to everybody. There you go. That's where you can register for the VCon that's coming up. All right. One of the best QuickBooks presentations I've been at, even though I've only been in business a year. Well, thank you, Alexander. I'm very glad. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. I don't know what was wrong with Verizon today. It says I have 3 bars on my phone, so I don't know why it keeps dropping my call. But I hope you'll be angry at Verizon and not me. Thank you for your patience and letting me call back in, and I apologize for the coughing, but I hope it has been very, very helpful for you all. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you at an upcoming webinar. Or don't forget, the Firm of the Future #4 will be on January 15th. I would love to have you join me for that. We'll talk about social media and helping you get clients and referrals and things like that. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to the Intuit helpers, Woody and Emily and Wendy. Thank you, guys. And thanks, everybody, for joining me. Talk to y'all later. Bye.